Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today we are wrapping up January's theme, which is a wrap-up of 2019. Today we're talking about books, novels, as well as comic books. Much like, the last couple weeks, it's going to be a rapid fire. I'm not going to talk too much about any of them, I don't think, just because there's a lot of them, and I know I've probably missed some. But I made this list and it's super long. So I will try to, talk about as much as I can. I'm almost positive I missed someone here, but we'll find out. Doesn't matter. And again, these are in no particular order. There are a few that are sequels in here. But I will go over them pretty quickly here. First up is Tiamat's Wrath, which is the Expanse book 8 of 9 by James S.A. Corey. Amazing books. You should check them out. They're awesome sci-fi. I talked about the show during my TV wrap-up of 2019. And this one is... these books are all amazing. You should definitely check them out. That's Tiamat's Wrath, book 8 in the Expanse series. Next up is Dark Age, Red Rising Saga number 5 by Pierce Brown. Again, really great series. A gentleman who is just amazing, and his writing is fantastic, and you love to hate him and hate to love him. But it is Pierce Brown's Dark Age, Red Rising Saga number 5. Next up is A Litter of Bones from J.D. Kirk. This is a book series called A Litter of Bones is the first book in the DCI Logan crime thrillers. It is, for people who don't know who J.D. Kirk is, many people won't. It's Barry J. Hutchinson who writes the Space Team books, as well as the Dan Dedman books that I've talked about on the podcast before. This is his pen name. He's kind of doing something a little different than his other stuff. And it's actually a very good book. I liked it a lot. I bought the second one, but I never read it, but it came out last year too. But I don't want to speak ahead of me reading it, but very enjoyable. I enjoyed the book quite a bit. Next up, these ones are going to be rapid fire. They're called, they're from a Amazon collection that's titled The Forward Collection. It is a series of short stories or novellas written by there's 6 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's randomize at? 6. Yeah, there we go. 6. Yep. Okay. By was his name Blake Crouch? Blake Crouch. The guy who wrote he's written a couple things. But Wayward Pines is his big series, and then I know he has Dark Matter and some other ones too. But he curated this collection of short stories by himself and 5 other writers, not of just sci-fi, but this is based on sci-fi. And this whole series, free to read if you have an Amazon Prime account. It's part of Prime Reading. And the other cool thing is you can get the audiobooks for nothing as well, if you have them, and it's pretty cool that way. So this series of 6 short stories and novellas, whatever you want to call them, are basically these 6 writers decided to, or he basically, Blake got with them, and he picked these 5 other writers to take their shot at emerging technology. So it's technology that's close enough to what we have right now, and what it would be like in the future with those things, or close near future, whatever you want to call them. But they're all pretty interesting. There was Arc, You Have Arrived at Your Destination, Emergency Skin, The Last Conversation, Summer Frost, and Randomize. The authors in here. So Randomize is written by Andy Weir. Blake Crouch wrote Summer Frost. Paul Tremblay wrote The Last Conversation. N.K. Jemisin, I believe is how you pronounce the name, wrote Emergency Skin. You Have Arrived at Your Destination is Amar Towles. I don't know how to say it. And then Arc is written by Veronica Roth. All of them are very interesting and very sci-fi. I enjoyed all of them for different reasons, but they were all really fun. So that's the Forward collection. Next up, another Amazon collection. This one is the Nameless series by Dean Koontz. It is, I do believe, also 6 parts. I've only read the first 2 of them. Yeah. Yep, first 2. And they're actually quite fun. They're very interesting. It's about a guy who doesn't really have his memory, and he just has this job where he basically goes around and delivers justice to those who have wronged others and murderers and things like that, who are essentially thinks they're above the law, literally, and they can't get caught or haven't been caught. And he works for this organization that basically seems to be unlimited funds and access to anything, and helps them bring those people to justice. But yeah, that's the Nameless series. They are quite interesting books. Very, very interesting books. Next up is Full Throttle, a collection of short stories by Joe Hill. It is it was a very fun read. Very interesting stories in there. I do, including In the Tall Grass, which is now a Netflix movie. But it's 13 different stories. One he actually wrote with, or 2 of them he wrote with his father. In the Tall Grass is one of them, and then the Full Throttle, the other one, is on there. And then I believe By the Shores of Lake Champlain was made into one of the episodes of the new Creep Show on Shudder, which I haven't watched yet, but I will. Pretty interesting. But that's Full Throttle by Joe Hill. Next up is One Word Kill, which is book 1 of the Impossible Times series by Mark Lawrence. Very interesting story. Time travel in a way, quite sad at points, but pretty good story. I'm interested to see where it goes with the next one. So it's One Word Kill by Mark Lawrence, book 1 of the Impossible Times. Next up is The Institute by Stephen King. Another really good book. It's a thriller. It's not a horror book. Like, even though everyone fucking chooses to make it that way. Actually won the Goodreads Choice 2019 for something. What did it win for? Horror? It's not even a horror book. It's fucking retarded. Anyhow, a pretty awesome book. It is an awesome book, not pretty awesome. It is an awesome book. Very wild tale. The Institute by Stephen King. And then the other, I put a layer of bones on here twice. Haha. Bum bum bum. That's stupid of me. And that's it for books. I read a lot more books this year. That just happens to be the all the new ones, new books that were released in 2019. I read a bunch of other books that weren't released in 2019. So I didn't put those on the list, but those are just the new books that were released in 2019. Next up, books that were released in 2019, comic books this time. I did choose only books that were brand new for this. It's not continuing like new issues of stuff that started ahead of time. There are a couple sequels in here, but they are new books that came out in 2019. First up is Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zdarsky. It is 6 issues of different time frames that were different eras of Spider-Man's life. There's like the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, and kind of has different stories for those different times in them. But yeah, it's pretty good, pretty interesting book, and the art's amazing. You should definitely check it out. Mark Bagley's art is fantastic in it, and Chip's writing is on point like always. So that's Spider-Man Life Story. The trade is now available. It has a collection of all 6 issues in it if you'd like to pick it up. It's only like $10 or $12 to get. Next up is Batman's Grave #1. This is a new mini series, or maxi as DC likes to call them, by Warren Ellis with art by Brian Hitch, the amazing Brian Hitch. And the amazing Warren Ellis, but Brian Hitch's art is fantastic. Basically, this book is it's not really the death of Batman. It's basically, it's hard to explain, but it's not really about his grave. It's a euphemism or a analog or something. I can't remember what that's called. But it's 6 issues, I believe, 6 issue mini or max series, maxi series. But yeah, no, it's really good, and of course the art is fantastic, like I said, because Brian Hitch is awesome. He's a great writer too, but his art's fantastic in this. So that's Batman's Grave, which I believe all of them are out now. I don't know if the trade's out yet, but I do know it's I believe all 6 issues are out, or all 5 issues are out. But yeah, it's a good little maxi series from DC, Batman's Grave. Next up, I talked about a bunch of these already. They are the DC Black Label books. I won't go over all of them, but I'll list off all the ones that came out this year. Batman Last Night on Earth, Superman Year 1, Harleen, The Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child, which, by the way, is fantastic. One of the greatest Batman books in the last easily decade, but really good book, really fun book. It's like the fourth technically in the Dark Knight Returns series by Frank Miller, with amazing art by Raphael Grandpa. So good. Then you have Batman Curse of the White Knight, which is the sequel to Sean Murphy's Batman White Knight. Really good as well. Not finished yet. It won't be finished for another couple months, but the first 5 issues came out the last half of last year. Then you have Joker Harley Criminal Sanity, another really good book. It started late last year. Joker Killer Smile, which is about, the second issue came out in December. The last issue comes out in February. Really good story there, too. I talked about Last God, really good book from late last year. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage by Jeff Lemire, really good book as well. Wonder Woman Dead Earth, fantastic book. I can't recommend it highly enough. Just a super fun book. And then where's the last? Then they have the Hill House Comics, which is a subsidiary of Black Label, I guess you could say, which is weird because Black Label is an imprint of DC, but whatever. And I mentioned them: Basket Full of Heads, Dollhouse Family, Lilo Woods, Daphne Byron, Plunge, and of course the backup stories of C.O.D.Ys all started there too. So definitely well worth checking out those DC Black Label books, as well as the Hill House comics through there as well. Next up, we have American Jesus, The New Messiah, which is the sequel series to Chosen American Jesus, or American Jesus, The Chosen, I guess you could really say. I've been waiting forever for this book, and it did not disappoint. It came out. Art's gorgeous. The story is fantastic. I cannot wait for the third issue to come out in February. Issue 2 comes out. Actually, I can't wait for 2 to come out because it comes out as of recording. Well, as you're hearing this today, January 22nd, but as of recording tomorrow. But yeah, Mark Miller is amazing, like always. Peter Gross, amazing art, and of course, fantastic covers by Frank Quitely. But yeah, American Jesus, The New Messiah. Pretty good. Can't wait for issue 2, but I really want to know what I do believe it wraps up with issue 3, because the first one was only 3 issues. But super excited about that. And it came out on Christmas Day, which is hilarious. Then you have Undiscovered Country, by Charles Soule and Scott Snyder, with art by Daniel, I want to say it's Orlandini, and Giuseppe Camilla, with Matt Wilson on colors, and Giuseppe Comacoli. I can never remember how to say his name. Comacoli. I don't know. He does the covers, and they're fantastic. But Undiscovered Country, real fucking weird book, but super good. So you should check it out because it's Scott Snyder, and Charles Soule is amazing too. Then we have Sea of Stars, by Jason Aaron and Denon Hallam, with art by Stephen Green. Really fucking weird book, but really good as well. Hard to explain what exactly it is. It is, I believe, 5 issues. Yes, 5 issues. I had to look it up. I had to scroll down the page. I don't know how to say basically what it is. Basically, it's about a space trucker and an orphan, or not orphan, but a widow, and her kid, and or his kid, I should say, widower and his kid. Yeah, it's pretty interesting story, but pretty goddamn good too. And the art is stunning by Stephen Green. And Mike Mignola did a cover B for issues 1 and 2, right? Did he do issues? No, he did just issue 1. But anyways, yeah, Sea of Stars, really good book. I don't know if they're doing another season or another series of it, but really good story in that one too. Sea of Stars by Dennis Hallam and Jason Aaron. Next up, Space Bandits, another Mark Miller book. Space Bandits is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're space bandits. They're bandits in space. They're basically like the universe's most wanted felons. One of them named is C.O.D.Y, C.O.D.Y Blue, and then Athena Cole. I want to say it's Cole. I'm not too sure how to actually pronounce it, because I only read it and I read it as Athena Cole, but I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting little book, which is total of, I want to say, 5 issues. Is that right? Is it 5 issues? Fuck, I don't even know. Yeah, 5 issues. 1 of 5. Yeah. Really good. It's a real fun story. The art is amazing in it. It's one of 3 Mark Miller books. Matteo Scalara did the art. He's the one that did the art for East of West, right? Is that right? I think that's Matteo. They did that. Anyways, fantastic art. And fantastic writing. Super fun. Next up, I'm sorry, there's 3 Mark Miller books on this list. I forgot about that. Next up is Chrononauts Future Shock 1 through 4. All 4 came out literally on the same day, October 30th. All 4 issues dropped that day, and I loved it. I loved the first series, and I'm loving the second series. But Eric Conte, I believe his name is, did the art in it as well, and it's fantastic. Then the other book by Mark Miller and Simone Bianchi, which is Sharky the Bounty Hunter. Pretty easy to figure out what that one's about. You can probably guess by the name. He's a bounty hunter. Yeah, it's a real fun book. Real wacky too. I love it. And then we have, to wrap it up, these are the last 2. I'm sure I missed some, but these last 2 I can remember. You have, the name change is still weird to me, but Christian Ward, written by Christian Ward, art by Sammy Kavana, and a bunch of other people did art or did covers. But it's now known as Machine Gun Wizards. When it first came out, it was Tommy Gun Wizards. They changed the name because they couldn't get the rights to use the name Tommy Gun because it's an actual copyrighted name. But it's basically the time of the Prohibition in Elliot Ness, and it's about Elliot Ness and his Untouchables, and it's about them fighting against bootleggers and things like that, but it has to do with magic, and it's pretty fun. Gorgeous art, awesome story. Machine Gun Wizards. Now the first 5 issues? No, 6 issues. Was it 6 issues? 5 issues. 4 issues. First 4 issues are available in a trade that I believe will be out in March. But you can buy all 4 issues. And hopefully they'll do more. But yeah, super awesome book. You should read it. And the last one, also a Christian Ward book. This time it's his art, written by G. Willow Wilson. It's Invisible Kingdom from Dark Horse, part of the Berger Books or Berger Books imprint on Dark Horse. Super sci-fi one here as well. Gorgeous art because it's Christian. Amazing covers because they're Christians. And amazing colors because it's also Christian. But really fun story. It's kind of has elements of our real world in it, and or say our modern day world in it, but has to do with religion and corporate greed and things like that. But I mean, there's a lot more to it. I'm not going to say that's all of it. But yeah, that's Invisible Kingdom by G. Willow Wilson and Christian Ward. Yeah, and it's amazing, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. And I believe that wraps it up for this episode and this month's theme. Today has been awesome books and comic books of 2019, and that's it. There was a lot, I know. I didn't talk about too much of them, but I talked about some of them over this past year. But that's what I've read this year. All new stuff. No continuations of anything else, because otherwise this list would be enormous. Oh shit! I forgot to talk Die. Oh man, I was gonna pull that up too. Thought of it afterwards. Oh well. Whatever. There's a book called Die. I want to say it started this year. I could be wrong. Did it start last year? I know Die started last year. I don't remember. Maybe that's why I didn't bring it up. Doesn't matter. That's it for this week's episode, everybody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody. And, like I always say at the end of this, let's be awesome.